Okay, so for those of you who are joining us, if you are uncomfortable with having your picture, your face, whatever it is on our recording, because they are now being posted on YouTube, just black it out, take yourself off video. We totally understand and respect that. There's no need to be concerned that anything other than benevolent love and light is being presented to you and surrounding all of us right here, right now. So we were just discussing a few techniques that, okay, I'll just ask everyone to mute their microphone so we're not listening to all the background stuff and things. Let's turn them off. Okay. So let's do a couple of practice. We talked a little bit about breathwork technique that was given to us, and that is to draw in the deepest breath in. So breathe in, relax. Roll your shoulders back. And as you breathe out, bring them forward again. Lift them up. Drop them back. Drop them down. And just continue with an in and out breath until you actually feel your body relaxing into the energy that is required for us to focus, be in alignment, and open to the information that's being brought forward. So as they talked about us growing a pair, what they're actually referring to is grow your wings, open them up, give some strength and power to the wings that you possess. And they're very energetic wings, but it allows the heart to expand and open. It allows the throat chakra to expand and open, and it allows the third eye to open. Okay. I'm just going to check microphone. Somebody is still on here. Okay. All right. So Helen, if you can just check on that for me as people enter in. We still have them joining. Just make sure that their microphones are off so that it's not disruptive or distracting. Okay. So we like to start our sessions with what we call the unity prayer. And the unity prayer is intended to draw us all together. And even though we're all over the country, and at some points right now, we're all over the world, and it's all about bringing our energies, our focus, and our intentions together to work towards this vision that we're holding and sharing. And that is the beautiful humanitarian project. That has been the focus that we've used for quite some time now, as far as our contribution to building a new world, a new way of living, a new way of being, an invitation for people to step forward out of the shadow side of where we have been and what we've manifested, and open ourselves up to the idea, concept, and of course the willingness to live a life that is much more loving, much more kind, gentle. We need to have that part of our heart and soul encouraged right now to not only know that it's possible, but that our intentions and our visions and our energetic work actually contribute to that happening. The collective is an incredibly powerful force that humanity is now, for the most part, aware of. Some choose to be conscious creators within that field and are doing amazing work all over the planet. Others are just conscious of it and don't quite understand it. So there is still some elements of confusion that are contributing to the collective point of balance. But it doesn't really matter where people are coming from. It simply matters how much their heart is willing to live a different way. Because if we're not willing to live a different way, we can't manifest a different way. And we all know very clearly in the last specific 3 years, there has to be a better way. We've certainly seen the darkest of darkness in humanity. We've seen the worst of those that are prone to be destructive and unkind, unfair, untrue. We've seen them step forward into the spotlight as if for some reason they have the right to be in control, the right to be in charge. And we know, honestly, they do not have that right. They are only part of the collective. They are not the sum and whole of it. So they inspired us, they taught us, they triggered us into rising up. So in this moment, we're going to call them a blessing for all the dark hat and all the dark energy and all the deep illusions that they hid for so long. We're going to give thanks. And in the point of giving thanks, the power of love filters into their energy field, filters into their efforts, their agendas. It filters into all of that and begins to lighten their load, lighten their influence, lighten their power to the place where they can no longer be destructive. They can still have the intent and they can still have the ideas, but as we're starting to see, things are being broken down, dissolved, dismantled, in some cases literally destroyed when it comes to the underground tunnels and things that are going on there. So the light is filtering in at an unprecedented rate. It's filtering into places that we don't always need to know how dark the darkness has been, but we do need to acknowledge the depth of it and the desire within those who are of the light to love them into healing, to love them into changing, to love them into transforming into something that has the potential to rise up as well. So for that, we are given the power and the focus and the intent to be kind, to be compassionate. Love wins. We cannot meet force with equal force and improve anything. So we just use the power of love as our force. And love knows exactly how to dismantle. Love knows where the cracks are. Love knows where to find them. And as long as our intent is to be compassionate and caring, love will find them and fill them with what they need to rise up. So I just wanted to make that very clear right now. The other thing is I would like to take a moment as we are gathering. Probably many of you have friends or family in Florida, and Florida is bracing for what they're calling, and I know every time it's a storm, it's the worst one ever, but we do understand that this one is particularly powerful. And one of our admin members is holding light for her family in that place so that they have protection, they have support, they have the ability to just let the storm go around and, be a candle in that place where the wind cannot blow it out. The candle is the candle of hope and power and prayer. So just take a moment within yourself and see yourself lighting that candle as we all join together in a big circle of love and support for Florida. And each one of us represents a candle of love, protection, and the ability to witness the storm without being affected by the storm, so that everyone is safe. Everyone is taken care of. Everyone survives and thrives. I'm just taking in a beautiful breath of intention. And as we breathe out, let's take our individual candles and breathe the light into the center of this circle, creating one beautiful light that rises from the earth to the heavens and holds that vision of pure love and support, safety and security. And may the storm be a cleansing wind that blows through, and only that which is not of the light shall be carried away. And as we breathe out, just declare, so it is. Okay. We're called into service tonight. We're working today. All right, so for the topic of the day, we are working with faith and forgiveness. And those are incredibly important tools that we are given for such a time as this. We're weary warriors, let's put it that way. We've been working as hard as we can for as long as we can for many, 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 many lifetimes. And at this point where we're kind of being able to see the finish line or to see the transitionary line of the earth being completely renewed and rebuilt, regenerated on all levels, all the elements of earth, wind, fire, water. Certainly all of those elements are within us and they're within the earth. So as it all comes into an energetic frequency state where it has the ability to be transformed, there are tools that we are given that support that. And our individual support may seem, we know personally it's not trivial, but when we think of the bigger picture, we tend to think, well, how can one person help? And I would really encourage you to rethink that, because every single light, every spark, every piece of the cosmic puzzle that is within us is required right now. It's necessary, it's needed, and it's encouraged that we all stand up in that light as much as we can, as often as we can, to the best of our ability, and declare that the light within us is the most important thing to follow. It's what the earth is built on. That center core, that spark, that light that is within the earth is also within our heart. It's not by chance that earth and heart are the same letters. We are very much a reflection of our Mother Earth. We're also a reflection of our cosmic Father in heaven. We call it the cosmos, you can call it the galaxies, call it whatever you like, but it still has the same components of energy, essence, light, and that beautiful frequency that is meant to be in each of us needs the freedom to be just that, and not feel limited or judged or contained or in any way diminished, so that we cannot live our best life in the way that we call freedom. So faith and forgiveness, a little bit of discussion on what that actually entails, because there's a lot of talk about it. And inside of us, we have this knowing that we must forgive. We have to be able to forgive in order to move forward. And just saying the words, unfortunately, doesn't get you the key to the kingdom. You've got to be able to actually feel the feeling. When you say, I forgive, there must be a feeling that comes with it. So how do we get ourselves to that place? How do we arrive at that place where we genuinely forgive with all our heart? How does that happen? The most important moments that you're going to be shown, we've just been in a new moon, which is setting new intentions. Right now, each and every soul is finding either in dream state or in the waking living state. You're being presented with challenges that have been repeating themselves for a very long time. Those challenges are getting stronger. So in other words, if it's repeating, it's going to continue to get louder, bigger, more intense, more detailed, more specific, until you actually acknowledge whatever challenge that you were in is worthy of your attention, and not just so that you get to repeat it, but that you actually get to complete it. And I'll say that again, it's not just to repeat it. This time our souls are meant to complete it. Our time of karma has ended, but there are residuals that we're all still carrying forward. And if you really look back, some of you have probably done a few past life experiences. You will start to see that each lifetime there is a thread that runs through your experience, lifetime after lifetime, that has the same fundamental challenge that comes with it. It can be somebody that is chronically betrayed, or someone that is consistently abandoned, or someone that is elevated to a place of power only to be destroyed, or that power to be removed in very hurtful ways. These things tend to repeat themselves because they're part of your soul's thesis or specialty. Let's call it a specialty, because out of that is going to come your personal power or your purpose in life. So it's learning to really pay attention to those things that are consistently repeating. And in those moments, you'll be able to determine for yourself. It kind of comes down to 4 challenges, and we're going to go through them one at a time so that you can see if there's a resonance that you can feel towards them. One of the most prominent feelings is hate. Now, hate can work on both sides. Hate can be a lifetime where you absolutely hate everyone, don't want to have anything to do with anyone, treat people very unkind, unloving, you can be the hater. And the next lifetime, guess what? You get to be the one that's ostracized by your community, and for whatever reason, and you probably can never really figure out, everybody hates you. Well, that's an incredibly powerful experience on both sides. And somewhere in the middle is our ability to soften or harden. It's up to us to choose which way we want to go. So each lifetime gives you a portion of it, or a piece of the puzzle, or a feeling that contributes to this chronically or consistently happening. So it's kind of an unraveling of a mystery. So if there is hate in your family, and I know as light workers, we all kind of go, we don't talk about hate. Well, we need to, because guess what? It's standard equipment. We all have it. So get over yourself, own it, and just identify for yourself, what's my version of it? And once you approach it from more of an interest or a discovery perspective, the closer you will be able to get to exploring it, experiencing it in a way that you can identify how you contribute to that part of life experience in your world. So that's one of the ones that we're going to be working with. Another one is hurting. And I think certainly in this lifetime, that has been kind of the enemy of choice, or the weakness of choice, if you want to call it, the vulnerability of choice. For most of us, we have been through the full spectrum of all of the ways that we can be hurt. And again, it's remembering that as much as you have been through the gamut of hurt, you must also recognize and take ownership that in other times you have been the one doing the hurting. You've been the villain. You've been the one that is stepping forward and betraying or harming people in whatever way you can, based on your insecurities or your sense of vulnerability. So again, it's a part of who we are, and it shows up more specifically when we're in female bodies. It shows up a little more than it does in masculine bodies, but it will inevitably end up showing up in both. So be prepared in your exploratory soul journey to take ownership of all the ways you've been hurt. And when you make that list, inevitably you will start and see that when the list is complete, and if you look at what is the opposite of each, you will be able to be taken back to moments when you played the other side. So in other words, if somebody hurt you by being disrespectful, and they consistently were disrespectful to the point where you had to remove yourself from that experience or that friendship or even family. We've seen a lot of that going on. So it's being able to, again, look at that concept of hurting and how it feels to be hurt, and then step over the line to that other role that is a part of who you are that used to do the hurting. And you'll start and see a really interesting thing that happens as we identify ourselves as having the potential and the capabilities of being both. Now, all of a sudden, there's a sense of compassion that starts building. You're more compassionate about people who are hurting, but you're also more compassionate for people that have taken on the role through contracts and promises that they will be the one to hurt you. And when they talk about being hurt by the ones you love the most, it's true. The ones that love us the most are the ones that we contracted to take on the role, to play the part, to challenge us to grow. And we had to pick someone that was close enough that it really impacted us in a powerful way, not just subtle, not just slightly, but it had to be someone that would impact us in a powerful way so that we would be able to learn both sides of the experience. So having been somebody who is called upon to hurt someone else, we don't intentionally wake up in the morning and go, I wonder who I can hurt today. But it happens, and it will consistently happen if you are the one that has agreed to play that role in relationships. So it's taking upon yourself to look at that role and say, what is it? What is the gift that I bring to this person that when they finally open it and see that It's challenging them to identify their self-worth. It's challenging them to grow. It's challenging them to open their eyes of what they deserve and what they don't deserve. And only that person can declare it. You can't come along and, it's like knighting somebody with the sword and tap them on the shoulder and say, okay, you're now brave. You're now worth it. You're now all of these things, if they genuinely don't feel it for themselves. So by going through these experiences, it's something that they start and pay attention to, they start and have an awareness of, and then it comes to the place where they no longer allow themselves to be hurt. So the gift is, you gave them the gift of empowerment through your willingness to be the one to hurt them. So now all of a sudden the stories change. It's no longer good and bad, right or wrong, light and dark. It's all about, what are we up to in this relationship? What are we creating? What are we identifying? And what power are we bringing into being so that the strength that is within us has elevated to a higher state? So it ends up being a beautiful thing. But let me tell you, when you're in it, doesn't feel it. Nothing feels beautiful about being hurt or betrayed. Okay, so harming is slightly different. Harming is something that we have learned as human beings through programming, through many, many lifetimes of having been presented with temptations. Harming has more to do with addictions. Harming is something we do to ourselves. In other words, you know that something isn't good for you, but you can't help it. It constantly speaks to you, calls to you, tracks you. Those things that are harmful to us, again, are teaching us something. And it's being able to identify, well, what is it teaching me that is so incredibly important that I am willing to suffer and go through all of this? So it's, again, perhaps taking some time and writing a list. How many ways do I suffer? How many ways am I hurting? How many ways am I harming myself needlessly? And being able to have compassion for yourself. So we go from having compassion to others, which is very important, but there is also a really important part of having compassion for yourself. Because unless you can have that, you can't get to the gate of forgiveness. If you believe you deserve to be harmed, as long as that is active and present, it's going to keep challenging you, teaching you, and showing up for you. So ultimately, when we get through all of the life challenges that we've been in, and many, many lifetimes, the art of healing, or the moment of healing, is presented in a way that we start and be fascinated by it. There's a lot of people on the planet, but how many of them are interested in healing? They're more interested in hating or hurting. They're in the active roles of gathering evidence or looking at reasons and excuses. They're not really in that place where they're fascinated with the idea of healing. And in this room today, we have, a beautiful circle of what I would call healers. And not because you maybe work on other people, and some of you will, but most specifically, you're interested in working on yourself. And that, to me, is the ultimate healing that comes at the end of a very large illusion that we've all been captivated inside. And now as we're popping out and the little light bulbs are popping everywhere, going, I don't want to hurt anymore. I don't choose to hate anymore. I don't feel that I deserve to be harmed, whether it's by myself or anybody else. I'm more interested in healing. And that's when all of the experiences that you've gone through, all of the stories, all of the adventures, if you want to call them that, because that is what they are, all of that starts guiding you and nudging you, moving you towards various ways of healing. And when they talk about heal or heal thyself, that is the only way healing can genuinely and truly happen. It must be something that you open your heart to, and you allow yourself to receive and accept, acknowledge, and embody in that moment when you're ready to heal all of the things that you've been through that have strengthened you to become the person you are right here, right now, because you're pretty extraordinary. There's a lot of courage in this virtual room. There's a lot of strength. There's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of power that is sitting in a place within that's ready to take on a more significant and prominent role in your life and in your journey. So let's explore a little bit about some of the tools, which faith and forgiveness are incredibly important tools that we use. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to forgiveness. We've kind of been taught or fooled into thinking that forgiving someone means that they get away with it, or that what they did is being dismissed, or that it's being shoved aside and not really acknowledged. And that's so far from the truth. When we enter into the idea of forgiveness, forgiveness is a gift that we give ourselves. And in that moment that you forgive yourself for contracting the other person in the beginning, for requesting the experience that somebody showed up for, when you forgive yourself for all of the ways that you reacted to it, all of the ways that you participated in it, all of the ways that you manifested it. Because we manifest these things for our souls to learn. It's not a punishment. It's not a way of saying you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with a soul that is in a quest or a journey to experience various ways that we can suffer and work our way all the way through to, I'm no longer willing to do that. I'm no longer willing to harm or hurt anybody else. And I am no longer willing to be hurt or harmed by others. So it's that moment where every part of the journey that you've been through, every story that you have been a major player in, comes together to celebrate the wisdom. And the wisdom can only be accessed fully when forgiveness of self is given. So it really is important that you consider, and some of you may do that easily because right now you're in a higher awareness, you're in a place where you can see things differently. Others may still be in those relationships or in those circumstances or in those situations where you're suffering. And it is really hard to forgive when you're still in it. So I do recommend that you either reach out to someone who can support you and guide you towards your moment, or go within and ask Source to reveal exactly what it is. What is the wisdom that you're gaining from this repeated pattern that you've been contributing to and participating in? Give yourself the gift of inner healing that comes from standing before what will appear to be all of the people that have hurt you. Call them into a circle. Some of you have been through the Merkaba experience. If you haven't watched that video, I highly recommend that you go back and find it on our YouTube and watch that as a tool to work with. But call all of those, specifically in this lifetime, because I can guarantee you if they are in this lifetime, they've been in other lifetimes. You've contracted something that is more than just one generation or one journey. It will be multiple journeys. So invite them into your Merkaba circle, into your energy field. Ask them all to show up. Acknowledge that each and every one of them have a purpose and a role that has played a significant part in helping you gain wisdom. And as they gather around you, you may start having feelings, you may start having reactions, you may start even going to that place where you want to run. Call that a good thing. Because if there's that kind of resonation, you're right over the target. If having that person in your field, in your space, makes you uncomfortable, welcome them even more. That means that they are playing a significant part of your life experience. And having them there is helping you do what you need to do to forgive yourself. So allow all those triggers, all those feelings, all those memories, allow them all to rise up. And in that moment, when you recognize that your being is in the story, it's in the moment that is the most powerful moment you will ever experience up until now, where you are taking on the ownership of everything that's happened with everyone in every experience. Own it. And that does not diminish your light, that actually ignites it. And where there is love, there is forgiveness. Acknowledging them as playing a mastery role, as playing a powerful role. And perhaps even in some cultures, bowing to them in honor of the role that they have played will assist you in taking on and embodying that empowered state. And forgiving yourself for feeling that you ever deserved any of it, that in any way you are less lovable, that in any way you are less powerful than anyone else. You can almost see it transform in that energy circle. And when you forgive yourself for the role that you played in doing the same to all of them, something miraculous happens, because what you will see in one flash, in one moment, that all of the ones you called into your circle, all of a sudden, every single one of them look like you. Your image multiplied all the way around the circle. They're all aspects of you. They're all parts of you that challenged you in the intimate, deepest possible ways. And allow in that moment to see your heart expand and open with not just forgiveness for yourself for playing the role that you played, but the forgiveness spills out and fills the entire circle of all those aspects of you that are forgiven as well. And you will be surprised at how that changes the dynamics in your relationships. All of a sudden, the need to blame isn't there. All of a sudden, all those moments when you felt shame, they're not there. All of a sudden, all the relationships and the dynamics and the intricacies of how complicated they could all be, all of a sudden the game's over. You just love everybody from a place that comes from within you, that is now ignited and activated as this forgiving and loving soul that fills a void on this planet that is incredibly necessary and needed right now. So we play with the concept of that light, and you become the light. And that light never goes out. I mean, we can dim it if we're really committed to it and determined to do it. But it's incredibly difficult after the moment of full forgiveness for you to do anything other than have incredible compassion and understanding for what everyone is doing right now. Because I don't care what role you play on this planet, from the darkest of darkness to the brightest of light. And by the way, the brightest light in the universe is identified as Lucifer. It's like standing in front of a welder and it burns your eyes. So don't kid yourself. The light has many, many aspects to it as well, the same as we do. But draw upon that love that is within you, that is the key to the new world, the new reality, the quantum field. The quantum field is love. And it's sending out these pulses of invitation and integration, just saying, okay, your work is done. Good job. Yeah, you're still feeling a little limpy and gimpy and wimpy in all those moments when you're remembering the things that maybe didn't go the way you wanted them to. Get over it. Look what you gained. Look at the wisdom. Look at the brilliance of the light that you now carry, and how you, standing beside another and another and another that are waking up and standing in the truth, that beautiful forgiveness tool that we have been given starts to make sense. It's like, ask yourself, why is forgiveness the very last thing that is said to a soul or given to a soul before it goes into the human experience? Why would we be given forgiveness? Because Source very clearly and loudly will say to you, you're gonna need it. Nobody gets through to the other side and back again without it. So it is important, and just tuck it in your heart pocket and know that every circumstance, every relationship, every issue right now is challenging you to use your forgiveness. It's a part of love. So that brings us to faith. Faith and forgiveness kind of fly. They're the two wings of the same bird. Faith is something that, again, we are being asked to use right now. And it's one of those really difficult things to comprehend, because faith is something that we cannot see. We may have experience with it. Some do. Many don't understand what it is and why it is. Faith is being able to believe in something you can't see. It's like Source. We know within us there's an energy, there's a feeling, there's a place within that draws us into a higher state of awareness and comfort that we can't describe sometimes. We can't give it a name. We can't give it an image because it just cannot be seen, but it can be felt. So faith is a feeling that guides you through right now where you cannot see what's ahead. We don't know what the quantum field means. We get excited about it. We talk about it. We pretend all kinds of things that we hope are there and look forward to seeing when we get there. But that's the concept of separating it from ourselves. The quantum field is within us. And that quantum field, when we use our faith, even though we cannot see it, trust that faith is something that is a power that is unseen and in many cases unknown, but it works. Faith is no different than, you cannot see the wind, but you breathe it. You cannot see the sunlight as it penetrates each and everything all over the planet, and yet it gives life and sustains life. It's remembering that not everything we see and identify is the complete picture. Faith is something that we need right now to have and hold in those moments when nothing is making sense. And if ever there was a time in the last 3 years on this planet where nothing made sense, we are definitely in it. And being able to hold your faith that everything's working. And to me, that was one of the blessings that Source gave me when I hadn't had the vision of the humanitarian project and what we're doing. And I was beginning to question everything. When I was watching what was happening in the world, what was happening to people that I love, what was happening to my family, everything was falling apart. And there was a period of time when it was totally confusing to me, because this is not how I imagined my life on earth. My life as a human being was to see this degree of suffering and disconnect. And so I was challenged to have faith. And because I couldn't have the fullness of faith, I was not in that energetic place. My heart hadn't grown into it. Source said to me, just keep saying everything's working. And I don't need to know how or why. In those moments when you feel down, remind yourself everything's working. There is a plan. It's working. And that's where I started to build my faith. Now I can stand fully in faith and I can see it all. As a matter of fact, I've been shown it all. So that's a blessing that I carry as an emissary of light and a way shower. I have been shown where this is taking us. And that's why I could not give this up if I wanted to. I just couldn't, because where humanity is headed is extraordinary. And it's worth every miserable moment that every one of us have been through and learned through and grown through. So faith is something that I believe we grow into. And the one thing that you can be very, very sure, faith is one of those things that only works if you use it. So start using it more. Have faith that whatever financial challenge is on your plate right now, just keep covering it with the energy of faith. Faith that it will be, you will find a way, there will be a way. It will be covered, it will be cleared. If you're in a situation where there's health issues or illness that is present and it's become a life-threatening challenge, fill it with faith, cover it with your faith. Every time that person or that situation comes to mind, lift it up to the light. Or if you are in that empowered state, which some of you may be, draw it in to the light, because the light that is within you is equal to the light that is outside of you. It's just some people are in different stages of where their faith will take them. Some takes them out and others can bring it in. So both are equally powerful. So that is pretty much the story of faith and forgiveness. The one thing that will challenge you and tell you that you're being tested is fear, because that is the Trinity: faith, forgiveness, and fear. Fear will show up in those moments to test your faith. Fear will show up in those moments when you're being rejected or isolated or disconnected. It will test you to forgive. Fear is that master teacher, and it is a master teacher. It is not something to run from. I can tell you very clearly that when you think you're running from fear, everything's a circle. So what you're running from is what you're running to. And rather than get yourself all exhausted and worn out, just stop where you are and face the fear. The moment you do that, fear will always stand right in front of the door you're meant to go through and tell you, yeah, no, you're not worth it. You can't have it. No, you're not that powerful. Oh, you shouldn't go there because, you know, what's on the other side of there? No, you don't want to know. Fear will actually stand right in front of the biggest blessing you have to discover in whatever journey you're on. So I have learned to, when fear shows up, I honor fear. Thank you for pointing the way. Step aside. And even though I may be afraid on some level, there may be some fear still in me, I don't care. I'm going in. And what you find on the other side of that moment, that breath, that experience, is something that you've been looking for and longing for a long time. And whatever it is, will be waiting for you. And I can assure you, when you do go through that door, the moment you're through it, the door disappears. There's no going back. There's nothing to go back to. You may be in a whole new reality and moving your life in a whole new direction, but you will not be going back to that place that you were in that caused your fear and caused you to suffer and caused you to feel less than worthy, because there's nothing to go back to. So yeah, we had some intense moments tonight, and I do trust that some of you are already in a little bit of resonation with some of it. And we're going to do a few moments of just, if you want to talk about it, you're welcome to step forward. I will guide and assist where necessary, encourage where needed, or just love you just because you deserve it. So I'm going to stop the recording because we don't do our personal experiences in recorded state. So maybe before we end the recording, we're just going to do a prayer of gratitude and thankfulness for the information and the wisdom that has been shared at this time. And we just ask that for whoever is stepping forward into the light of facing the challenge of faith and forgiveness, whether it comes through a deep-seated fear, or whether it just comes from a place of knowing it's your time, it's your turn. It's time for you to step forward. It's time for your empowered self to take the wheel and know that Source is there to support you and guide you. And Mother Earth is there to sustain you and meet your needs. And that in this awesome state of bridging the beauty and the wonder of the universe with the earth, you as a human being contain just as much power, just as much grace, just as much glory as any living thing in existence. And so it is.